conditioners are just quitting. Just say, I quit. I can't keep up with this heat. Prisoners are dying in prison. No air conditioning, no ventilation in prison. The majority of prisons have no air conditioning. Can you imagine 115 degrees surrounded by concrete walls and no window? And our government is not interested in air conditioning the prison.
Well, Lordy have mercy now. There was just so much in that, y'all. Okay, so now, Bishop, you mean like the jail cell out there in Ellis County, Texas, where your son-in-law has been locked up for over a year on yet to be proven allegations of child sexual abuse, when Cora could just get a man his $10,000 out of their marital bank account so he can bail himself out of jail of that said 150-degree jail cell. I mean, I really don't know how you can be complaining about the government, Bishop, when a member of your own family is locked up under the same blistering hot conditions in a jail cell, and you want to make us think you care so much about it when y'all could just tell the man's family how he can have access to his own bank account and bail himself out of jail. Oh, but anyway, y'all, hi there. I'm Professor Blackmore, and welcome back to my channel and to my series entitled Potter's House PedoFiles, because court is now back in session in the case entitled State of Texas versus Richard Brandon Coleman. And as I notified you back in episode 20 of this series, when Bishop was again acting like he cares so much about people being locked up indefinitely in jail before they have been proven to be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, I notified you then that the court finally set this matter for trial so that the state of Texas could do just that. Put up or shut up. And before we take another look at the court's trial setting order, let's refresh our memory on some of the foolery Bishop was trying to sell us back then.
You know how many people are in jail right now awaiting trial? You think you're innocent until proven guilty. Do you know how many people are in jail right now who haven't been formally sentenced? You know how many people have adopted prison as a way of life and they have still not had a trial?
Bishop, I really don't know why the devil keeps making you talk about this topic, because you really do look like a hypocrite every time you talk about people in jail, baby boy. I mean, I think you think you're making a political point that people over there at that Potter's House Church will appreciate, but the irony is blinking like a red flashing light, and for some reason, you don't even see it.
In other words, they don't want to put you in prison, they want to cook you. And nobody seems to care about that. They don't deserve air conditioning. Well, just kill them in the first place. Why would you make people die? Right this week, people are dying in prison.
And I love how he claps to the rhythm of the words when he wants to put extra emphasis on a point. But it just brings more attention to the highest point of hypocrisy to what he is saying. And so instead of making the point that he thinks he's making, he's just bringing more attention to the fact that his own son-in-law is suffering in the same conditions, and his wife, Sister Cora with her crazy self, is standing right there in front of you, Bishop, clapping right along with you, and we're all just looking back at how foolish y'all all are looking up there, bringing more attention to your own hypocrisy. But thank God Almighty, the judge finally realized that it is getting a bit ridiculous to have this man held in jail for over a year with no trial setting, letting these attorneys keep resetting the announcement hearings, taking their word for it that this man is waiving his right to a speedy trial. I mean, I think we can all agree that you see this more readily when a defendant has an opportunity to make bail. But this man cannot afford bail, and he has begged the court to get rid of this dang blessed court-appointed defense attorney. And so, as you know, the case is now set for trial, beginning with jury selection set to take place beginning on November the 6th. And if a verdict is not reached by the jury by November the 10th, the trial will reconvene on November the 27th and continue again until December the 1st, 2023, or until a verdict is reached by the jury. And before I go any further, I think it is necessary that I remind you that the prosecution intends to go completely in, honey child. And that is what I immediately glean from this plea rejection form, in which the prosecution has the nerve to offer Brandon Coleman a complimentary stay in its 115-degree prison that Bishop so eloquently described for a period of 30 years, to which offer Brandon Coleman ever so kindly said, no freaking thank you. And so if I'm the defense attorney representing Brandon Coleman, that right there would be a strong indication to me that these people ain't playing patty cake, honey child. And that would tell me that I needed to get my backside together and start letting this prosecutor know that I ain't playing patty cake with them neither. But when you look at the court docket sheet to see what in the hell the defense attorney is doing to let this prosecutor know that he has a clap back in his spirit, it is literally crickets out here on this courthouse internet when it comes to the defense side of this case. But yet and still, when you study it further, you can clearly see that the prosecution is getting ready. They have issued numerous trial subpoenas, more specifically what we call in the practice of law, subpoenas duces tecum, which are subpoenas requesting that certain non-parties to the case produce documentary evidence that they may have in their files. And the first thing that we can see is the prosecutor's subpoena duces tecum issued to the custodian of records for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, aka Texas CPS, or what others may call Texas Child Protective Services, in which they are requesting, quote, the entire case files, audio, video recordings, etc., on certain CPS case numbers related to case name Cora Coleman, including but not limited to all Social Security numbers, reporter name, and contact information for any individuals filing reports in the records of said case numbers, names, and contact information of foster parents, criminal history, and HIV status of any individual. End quote. Okay, now, isn't that an interesting word choice? I mean, if the child is adopted, why are we looking for information related to only foster parents? Because as I have told you in prior episodes of this podcast, I really only believe one of the two children is actually adopted, because there is only one adoption court case filed in the court. Because I don't see how they would have been able to properly and legally terminate the parental rights of the daughter's biological parents, because the biological mother, for one, is not even in the United States, and it stands to follow that the child's biological father is not a U.S. citizen either. And you have to be able to contact people and be able to prove up on the record that they have received notice and that they clearly and intelligently are terminating or are agreeing that their parental rights can be terminated. And so if you're the parents of this child, why are we seeking records for all CPS case numbers with the case name Cora Coleman seeking only records related to foster parents, when we all know that CPS does not close its case once an adoption is finalized? And so it seems to me that they will be seeking records for all foster parents and adoptive parents of the child, since the case remains open even throughout the adoption. And so that just seems a little odd to me, but I could be wrong. And when I read that part about them seeking HIV status of any individual, I was like, okay, now why in the hell are they asking about that? I mean, that seems a bit crazy, y'all, but but anyway, y'all, let me stay focused, because we also see a subpoena duces tecum issued to the custodian of records for Cook Children's Hospital requesting, quote, any and all records relating to any admittance and for sane exam and medical treatment records administered to patient AC seen at Cook Children's Hospital on October the 6th, 2021, end quote. Now, when I see this, it makes me want to go and get my calendar that I showed you back in episode 23 of this series, because the only charges currently before the court relate to allegations of events that took place on 2 dates as set forth in the indictment. And although count 1 makes reference to a span of time between June 10th, 2021 and August 11th, 2021, quote, a period that was 30 or more days in duration, end quote, this same count admits that the full indictment relates only, quote, to 2 or more acts of sexual abuse against AC, end quote, and the subsequent counts make it clear that the prosecution is only really making allegations of events that took place on 2 specific dates, July 28, 2021 and August the 11th, 2021. And as you know, ladies and gentlemen of this church house jury, we were able to clarify in episode 23 that there is no way the prosecution can establish events that took place prior to July the 22nd, 2021, because that is the date that Cora and Brandon signed the papers purchasing the home in Ellis County. So they clearly did not and could not have resided in Ellis County, Texas in any way, shape, form, or fashion prior to July the 22nd, 2021. And so I don't know how a grand jury could have even come back with these dates in count 1, because they didn't even live in the county from June 10th to July 21st, and the house didn't even have grass planted on the ground on July the 22nd, as we can clearly see in this Instagram post posted on Sister Cora's Instagram page. And quite frankly, I honestly don't see how the house could have been ready to move in by July 28, 2021, but I also don't have any evidence to establish that they were not yet moved in by then. But what I can say is that these allegations in the indictment relate to events alleging that Brandon Coleman touched the child, and they do not relate to any actual penetration allegations wherein it is alleged that he used his sexual organ to penetrate the child's sexual organ. So, I don't see what medical records from Cook Children's Hospital related to a, quote, sane exam and medical treatment, end quote, that took place on October the 6th, 2021 would establish. And for those of you who are asking what a sane exam is, a sane exam is defined as an exam of a child who has endured sexual abuse, at which time a registered nurse, specifically referred to as a pediatric sexual assault nurse examiner, SANE, guides the child through a safe and virtually painless examination that documents the physical, emotional, and behavioral results of child sexual abuse and collects any evidence. But again, these are touching allegations, and even if they were related to actual penetration with the sexual organ type allegations, What real admissible evidence do you think you can get from an exam that took place over 2 months later? Well, I'm not a doctor or nurse, and so notwithstanding, however, the court docket sheet shows that the custodian of records for Cook Children's Hospital, that is in Fort Worth, Tarrant County, Texas, which is where the case really should be in my opinion, but I've already preached that sermon in prior episodes, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. But we all know why the case is not in Tarrant County, Bishop. But again, notwithstanding, the custodian of records has produced their records, and the court is now in receipt of a DVD with 53 pages of their records. Now, the court record also reflects that the prosecutor issued a subpoena duces tecum to the custodian of records for licensed clinical social worker Artesia Price, whose office is also not in Ellis County, Texas, but in Dallas County, seeking, quote, all records relating to treatment administered to the patient, all clinic notes, psychotherapy notes and records, mental health evaluation notes, records, etc. for patient AC, parent/guardian, Cora Coleman Jakes, end quote. Now, I find that language very interesting. Parent, guardian, including how they're now calling her Cora Coleman Jakes. Again, that's all very interesting word choice, because if you adopted this child and you are her parent, why does the word guardian even need to be used in this specially prepared subpoena? But again, let me stay focused, y'all. Because as y'all know on here, I just ask and report, and I'll let you decide. So, what do you think? Do you think Bishop thinks Brandon Coleman needs an air conditioner in his jail cell? Or do we need to get an air conditioner for this prosecutor? Because I don't know how or what in the hell they think they're going to prove with all of these hearsay records, because although I'm sure they'll be able to prove them up in court because they are certified records, but the Sixth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and the Confrontation Clause states that the defendant has the right to confront the witnesses against him, meaning direct testimony of the child will be required at the time of trial if the defense attorney stands flat-footed and demands it. And do you think Brandon Coleman's attorney is doing anything to get ready to present a I've got a clap back in my spirit type of defense to these charges? And what do you think about the language used in these subpoenas relating to the status of Cora Jakes as the adoptive parent of this child, as opposed to a mere foster parent or guardian of the child? Please let me know by leaving your comments in the comment section below. And I hope you'll also give me a big thumbs up. And I hope you'll also consider donating to this video and my entire channel ministry by donating to the ProfessorBlackmore.com Cash App. And I also want to ask that you please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell so you'll be notified whenever I come back with more Potter's House PedoFiles updates. And please also follow me on TikTok and Instagram.